Welcome back to Tony's Teaching Tips videos. Today's bonus topic is Think, Pair, Share. I'm Tony Sindelar, a higher education instructional designer with many years of experience partnering with faculty and subject matter experts to create and improve teaching and learning. Today I'm talking about Think, Pair, Share because Think, Pair, Share is one of my favorite active learning strategies. This is a strategy I started using in my own teaching almost 20 years ago. So, Think, Pair, Share, very simple. This is something you could use tomorrow if you were so inclined. The goal of Think, Pair, Share as an active learning activity is to get students to take dedicated class time to think about a question, prompt, or problem, share their ideas with a classmate, and then transition to a whole class discussion. If you're struggling with getting students to respond to questions in class, this can be a particularly beneficial teaching technique to try out. Let's step through the process. You start by posing a question or prompt to the students. It could be related to ideas you just presented via a lecture or in reaction to materials students were asked to work through in preparation for the class session. Ideally, this question should be moderately challenging rather than something that requires simple recall. What did I just say is about the worst prompt you could ever use for a Think, Pair, Share activity. So you present students with the prompt and then give them a set amount of time to consider it. This is the think part of the Think, Pair, Share. Depending on the complexity of the prompt or question, this might just be a minute, or it might be more like 5. Maybe it's like 10 if it's a series of short questions. It can be helpful to display a timer on the screen for longer lengths of time to help students manage the time they have been given for this. The second part is pair. Simply ask students to find someone nearby to discuss what they thought about. Depending on your instructional goals, it might be as simple asking them to share those ideas, it might be asking them to reach a consensus, a compromise, or even co-create a new answer. These pairs should be formed quickly based on who students are sitting in proximity to. Don't worry about group composition for a quick active learning activity like this. But do be prepared to do some crowd control if you have students in your classroom who are kind of geographically isolated from others. And, if you have an odd number of students, a group of 3 here and there isn't going to be a problem. After the pair stage is the final stage, the share. Here, you as the instructor ask some of the groups to share out, report back, what did they discuss, so that groups have the benefit of hearing what happened in the other conversation. Depending on the complexity of the question, you may want to hear from as many groups as possible, or just a few. You might check in with other groups through nonverbal things like a show of hands to see the agreement or disagreement across groups. Again, it all depends on your goals for the activity. Many people will use the Think, Pair, Share as a way to transition from the structured replying to that question into a more free-flowing discussion of the question and even related questions or ideas that you want students to be considering. The power of Think, Pair, Share is engaging students and sparking discussions, and it works for 2 big reasons. 1, you give students a dedicated time to think about an idea, and 2, you give them a low-stakes place to share that idea and try out what they're thinking with a small group, that 1 or 2 other students, before they have to try out in a more socially higher-stakes environment, the whole class, or in front of you as the instructor. The other added benefit of activities like Think, Pair, Share is that students sometimes engage in informal student-to-student discussions and teaching when they're explaining that rationale to their colleague, where they may have to explain, here's why I think this way, here's what I'm thinking about, here's my line of thinking. So if you've got a classroom of students that you can't get talking, or you hear from the same few students in the front row time and time again, Think, Pair, Share is a classic active learning strategy to have in your toolbox and try out. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.